Thank you. Hello. Good afternoon. Welcome to today's press conference on the launch of the International Year of Cooperatives. Contrary to what millions of school children might think, today is important, not as Halloween, but as the launch of the Year of Cooperatives. And for that reason, none of the participants will be in costume, but we do have a lot of information about extremely important, although often overlooked, institution of cooperatives taking place in all sorts of fields. There's a main press release here. There's also a press release on agricultural cooperatives available. We have a broad-ranging panel to speak. On my immediate right is Piet Moorland, the chairman of Rabobank. In the center of the table, as you all know, Sha Zukang, Undersecretary General of Department for Economic and Social Affairs. Further to my right, Pauline Green, President of the International Cooperative Alliance, and at the opposite end of the table, Monique Leroux, the President and Chief Executive Officer of Desjardins Group. So we'll hear from each of them in turn on the importance of the Year of Cooperatives, and after all the remarks are finished, we'll take some questions. We'll start off with Mr. Sha Zukang. Undersecretary General, please.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon. Today we launch the International Year of Cooperatives 2012. This year's theme is Cooperative Enterprises Help Build a Better World. In declaring the year, the United Nations hopes to raise awareness on the role of cooperatives in advancing the United Nations Development Agenda and in achieving the Millennium Development Goals. Cooperatives are member-driven business enterprises and self-help organizations. They generate employment and improve incomes that contribute to poverty reduction. They empower people with limited resources to engage in productive economic activities. This is especially true for marginalized groups. Cooperatives operate in various sectors of global economy, such as agriculture, finance, and retail. They have an estimated 1 billion members worldwide. Cooperatives also strengthen local economies and communities by tapping local resources and opportunities. It is really a great pleasure to welcome members of cooperatives from different parts of the world who have come to participate in this launch. The United Nations appreciates the partnership of the cooperative movement in observing the International Year of Cooperatives. I also wish to thank Rabobank for its generous support for the International Year of Cooperatives activities in the United Nations. I truly hope that International Year of Cooperatives will bring new momentum to the cooperative movement. It is a great opportunity to leverage their contributions to sustainable socio-economic development. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Moorland from Rabobank.
Well, thank you. Well, I'm very happy that the United Nations takes for the next year the cooperatives as a focal point, since I have the idea that cooperatives, however predominant they are in different sectors, several sectors in many countries all over the world, the cooperative model, business model, nevertheless is, in my view, underestimated in the media, but also with the legislators and the regulatory framework. And therefore, I am very happy with this decision by the United Nations to declare 2012 as the year of the cooperative. In my view, and I'm talking about financial cooperatives, and Rabobank is cooperative bank, the only cooperative bank in the Netherlands, and with the market-leading positions in almost all lines of business in the Netherlands. Cooperative banking is all about financial inclusion. And the very inception of the cooperative movement in the second half of the 19th century, talking about Europe, and especially in Germany, was a response in order to fight against the exclusion in the rural areas by the farmers. And they could not borrow money at acceptable conditions, and therefore the cooperatives have been established to make that possible for the farmers and for the small and medium-sized enterprises in the rural areas to develop themselves, to build up a livelihood and to become independent. And when talking about the 19th century in Europe, of course, that's a long period ago, and the cooperative banks have made a terrific contribution in making people independent. But as we are speaking now, I guess that in other parts of the world, especially in developing countries and emerging countries, today, I guess maybe 4 billion world citizens have a lack of financial products. They are not provided at acceptable terms with respect to payment accounts or savings accounts or all you need to become independent as a world citizen. And therefore, I believe that not only for Rabobank, but I think for many, many other banks all over Europe, all over the world, and institutions, also the United Nations, but many other institutions and governments, there is a huge challenge in 2012 and beyond 2012 to make financial services within the reach of many billions of world citizens, so that they can develop their business, build up a livelihood in a way that can be characterized as a human right. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll turn now to Monique Leroux from Desjardins.
I am very excited personally when I think about the coming year. Behind the UN decision, we see the recognition of the relevance and the resilience of the cooperative business model in the world today. We intend to take advantage of 2012 to advance the cooperative model with even greater conviction and drive. In order to contribute concretely to this international year, we announced this morning the program of the International Summit of Cooperatives, which will be held in Quebec City in October 2012. The theme of that summit will be the amazing power of cooperatives. What is interesting about this summit, it is truly a cooperative event. So the co-hosts are the International Cooperative Alliance, ICA, St. Mary's University, and Desjardins Group, and many cooperative partners. We intend during that summit to address 4 questions. The first is the role of cooperatives and mutuals in the global economy. The second, the performance of the cooperative and mutualist business model. The third, the evolution of the cooperative and mutualist business model. And the fourth, the global social political influence of cooperatives and mutuals in the world. What is particular about this summit is that we will be having groundbreaking studies coming from large organizations like McKinsey, Deloitte, and others to provide global surveys from CEOs and different people about the role of cooperatives and the contribution in the economy. In conclusion, we are currently running a great risk in the world as people are becoming more and more disconnected from major economic and financial issues. The financial crisis, the Arab Spring, and the Occupy Wall Street protest remind us of the importance of human capital over financial capital. The financial cooperative model is a tangible answer to help people to understand issues and get involved locally to work together on solutions. The cooperative brings long-term prosperity to people, small businesses, and society. The financial cooperatives are there to support people and contribute to the real economy. This is what the October 2012 International Summit will show and will discuss. We want to create, in fact, a real Davos of the cooperation in the world. Thank you.
And thank you. We'll conclude the presentations with the President of the International Cooperative Alliance, Pauline Green, please.
Thank you and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The size and the scope and the reach of the cooperative model of business is the world's best kept secret, and we believe it's time that ended. Cooperatives are not business as usual. Cooperatives remove people from poverty by creating co-ops, member-owned businesses owned and controlled by local people, in local communities, for local people. Member-owned businesses embedding democratic values, care for community, and keeping wealth with local people. Member-owned businesses nurturing and developing local leadership and building local skills and expertise. And cooperatives have been developing civil society across the world for 170 years. And today, the International Cooperative Alliance will launch its Global 300 list. That's the list of the largest 300 cooperatives in the world. And our cooperatives, of course, are hundreds of thousands across the world, and those hundreds of thousands of cooperatives are currently owned by nearly 1 billion of the world's citizens. And together, they employ over 100 million people. But they have a proven record of success in the marketplace. And our 300 largest co-ops alone, we can reveal today, are worth $1.6 trillion US, and that's equivalent to the GDP of the 9th largest economy in the world. And that's just the largest 300. Our challenge, ladies and gentlemen, is that nobody knows those figures. Member-owned cooperatives are present in virtually every village, every town, and every city across the world. And the United Nations International Year of Cooperatives is recognition of our socio-economic impact on the evolution of the world, on our role in helping to secure peaceful, democratic, sustainable communities through our shared economic endeavour. We believe that our member-owned businesses have much to offer the world as it strives to combat some of the key problems of today's world. The young, demanding a fairer, more transparent and decent global economy. Those brave souls struggling to build civil society in the Middle East and North Africa. A way to combat climate change through locally owned, community-owned, sustainable energy generation and use. Reducing or even eliminating tensions and conflict by creating a cohesive community through shared economic structures, whether that be in agriculture, housing, retail, banking, insurance, transport, health, education, energy, and so much more. And the United Nations International Year of Cooperatives gives us a once-in-a-generation opportunity to profile the cooperative difference, and we intend to take it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll take questions from the media. Yes, sir, right here.
Thank you very much. My first question would be to Mr. Pete Moreland. How come a well-established bank can get a share in the market now that the economy is changing, especially in the developed countries, and there is more investments geared towards the knowledge-based products such as patents, how can a cooperative and a bank reach to that level, 30 top international bank, with keeping its roots into empowering its community and agriculture? I'm quite aware of the Netherlands economy is quite advanced and complex in the nature of its operation. Can you highlight on that area?
Yes, thank you for this intriguing question. It's a balancing act, I admit. We were established in the Netherlands and grew our business in the Netherlands for 80 years, something like that. We were a domestic cooperative bank, and we have arrived in 80 years, and until now we exist 112 years, market-leading positions in the Netherlands. 30 years ago, we went outside the Netherlands. First of all, in 81 here in New York, we're starting a branch. Today, we are present in 45 countries all over the world. And we have, with trial and error, I admit, chosen for a clear strategy to focus on food and agri. Food and agri is everywhere important in the world. People have to keep eating. So I believe that today, after 30 years of international expansion, all large cooperative and non-cooperative agricultural firms all over the world are customer of Rabobank. And I think we are the leading, or at least a leading bank in the food and agri. When talking about food and agri, the relationship with people and with emerging countries and with poverty and with financial inclusion is obvious. So what we have done 30 years ago is starting with our Rabobank Foundation to help in almost 70 countries all over the world by technical assistance and by providing the people with knowledge and money to develop cooperatives, agricultural cooperatives, just to let the people start something like to develop infrastructure with respect to the market and transport and the way they can cooperate together in the value chain. And 6 years ago, we added another branch, that's Rabo Development. And then in 5 or 6 countries already, we took a minority participation, and equity participation in already existing banks, mostly government-owned banks. And we added equity management, members of the supervisory board, technical assistance, risk management, compliance, all that's relevant today to those countries. Well, in one country, the development of this inclusion, financial inclusion of the people, goes very good. Best example is Tanzania. We took a participation in the National Microfinance Bank 5 years ago. That's a great success in every respect. And the inclusion in Tanzania for the people, the ordinary people and the farmers is an excellent example. But we are active in other countries, Rwanda, Zambia, Mozambique, but that's a tough issue. And we are also present in Paraguay, and we are considering 1 or 2 other countries right now. So we have a cascade of activities, and we try to get it together. So we are domestic market leader in the Netherlands and try to maintain our cooperative values there. We are internationally one of the leading food and agri banks. And there is, of course, a connection between food and agri and development by our foundation and our Rabo Development Program.
Follow up, please. In 1997, Rabobank, I believe, was the largest bank holding patents for innovation in the Netherlands. Does Rabo still continue in that area, still invest in patents, or focus on the core business of the food and agri?
Yes, well, you are very well informed, I must say. We still do that when that is asked for by the Dutch government in that case. And there were large companies in that period that came into trouble. And then we supported by taking the patents and giving the finance to those companies. Our focus right now is more on green tech, sustainability, and I believe that today the 7 billionth world citizen is expected to be born, isn't it?
Yes.
7 billion world citizens all have to eat, and that we are active in the value chain, and that includes problems as climate, water scarcity, food security. And I dream that once we can cooperate with the larger players, and Mrs. Green was talking about 300 large cooperatives, the large players in the world can make a difference by collaborating in the next couple of decades, so that in 2050, it's far ahead of us, the footprint on the planet is neutral. And as you know, the footprint now is too large.
Comment from Monique?
Yes, very briefly. Well, you know, the logic of a co-op, of a cooperative, is to accompany members. And today, many members, it could be individuals or it could be small businesses, even, you know, medium-sized businesses, are global. Or they want, you know, to have some activities in the world. So there is a logic there for us at Desjardins to accompany them in what they want to achieve. Second, what we have been able to achieve at Desjardins is to put together a group which is Développement International Desjardins, which is essentially a group which technical support to help different countries to start cooperatives. And we do that because we believe in the cooperative model. We believe in those values. And I agree with Mr. Mullen about this notion of intercooperation. If we are able to increase the level of cooperation between the large cooperatives in the world, I think that we can do a lot. I guess that the nuance that I will bring that creates sometimes a lot of discussion and education is that certainly at Desjardins, before moving outside Canada or moving in any kind of global expansion, we will be involving our local people in the decision process. And when we do that, it's part of the educative role of a cooperative.
Next, Matthew.
Sure. I have a question, I think, for both banks. Matthew Lee, Inner City Press. I wanted to know, in Rabobank, I know it has a bank in California and here in the United States. And I was aware even at the time that it was when it was sought to buy another bank, Mid-State Bank, was actually protested by local residents for a variety, for limited agricultural lending. I mean, I'm not saying, I can't at this point say if it's true, but I do know that it was protested. There were people with pickets and mariachi bands. And so I guess I wonder, is it what to make of that, I guess? I mean, I hear this presentation that sort of the cooperative form per se makes a bank, either better than other banks or always good. That certainly wasn't the perception of some people in California. So I just wondered if you could I also saw a headline at the time, I know it was a less exposure than other banks, but Rabobank says hit by subprime crisis. I don't know if that was just because the economy as a whole was hit, or if each of you could say what your exposure, if any, was to subprime lending. And I wanted to know as to Desjardins, I mean, I see like there's a deal today announced that Desjardins is buying the Canadian credit card portfolio of Staples. I mean, it seems like a pretty conventional business deal, but how do you check with your depositors, or is this just straight, it seems like straight business. It doesn't seem very kind of cooperative or credit union-like to me.
What publication?
Inner City Press.
You want to start up, Mr. Norman?
Yes, first, thank you for your questions. First of all, the United States is the most important foreign branch for Rabobank in terms of business. And in this country, we are happy to have here in New York and other places a wholesale business.